Day 19 broke cold and clear, the kind of Texas morning where the air snaps against your skin and every sound carries like a rifle shot. By 6:45, the county road outside my gate looked like a county fair parking lot. 4 television vans with satellite dishes angled skyward, a dozen pickup trucks belonging to neighbors who had finally found courage in numbers, and 3 unmarked federal SUVs parked in perfect formation. 500 people milled about, coffee breath fogging the dawn, phones already recording. Word had spread overnight. The old engineer was about to settle 18 days of trespassing with something other than words. I stood on the porch in my oldest flannel shirt, the one with the Boeing logo faded to ghosts, cradling a mug that had seen better decades. The hydraulic press waited in the barn, hidden behind the false back wall I had built the night before. 20 tons of calibrated force, plumb and level to within 1/1000th of an inch. The activation panel sat on the kitchen table beside my notebook, red button glowing like a coal. At 7:29, the black Jeep appeared, engine note familiar as a bad toothache. Victor Lang drove, jaw set, eyes scanning the crowd with the wary calculation of a man who suddenly realized the game had changed. Behind him sat 2 of his original crew, radios now silent, hands conspicuously empty. Diane Mercer rode shotgun, navy suit pressed despite the hour, face pale but composed. She had brought 8 additional men in matching gray uniforms, all positioned like chess pieces around the gate. They looked less like security and more like men waiting for a paycheck that might never clear. I stepped off the porch and walked the 30 feet to the property line, boots crunching on frost-tipped gravel. The crowd parted. Cameras swiveled. Agent Ramirez, lead federal marshal, gave me a slight nod from beside her SUV. She had reviewed my plans at midnight and signed off. Reasonable force, documented, legal. Sheriff Bob Mitchell stood nearby, arms crossed, expression unreadable. He had been reinstated yesterday. The county had finally admitted his reassignment smelled of HOA influence. Victor rolled the Jeep to its exact mark, 2.3 feet onto my land, the same intrusion logged 18 times. He killed the engine but left the keys dangling, a small act of defiance. Diane stepped out, heels clicking on asphalt. The temperature was 38 degrees. Her breath plumed like smoke signals. "Mr. Brooks," she began, voice carrying with practiced authority, "this demonstration is unnecessary. We are prepared to negotiate a mutually beneficial resolution." "There is nothing left to negotiate," I said, loud enough for the nearest microphone. "You have 30 seconds to remove your vehicle from my property." The crowd hushed. Phones rose higher. Diane's smile thinned to a blade. "You cannot intimidate us with theatrics." 20 seconds. Victor's hand twitched toward the ignition, but Diane grabbed his wrist. "Do not move. We have rights." 15 seconds. A low mechanical hum rose from the barn, barely audible at first, then growing into a steady thrum that vibrated through the ground. The crowd felt it in their boots. Someone whispered, "What is that?" 10 seconds. Steel plates began to rise from the earth on either side of the Jeep, sliding upward on hydraulic rams with the smooth inevitability of elevator doors. They were painted the same color as the dirt, invisible until activated. Victor's eyes widened. He fumbled for the keys. 5 seconds. Diane lunged for the driver's door, but Agent Ramirez intercepted her with a calm hand on her shoulder. "Ma'am, step back. This is a legal property protection action." 0. I pressed the button. The plates closed with a sound like a giant book slamming shut. The Jeep's tires compressed first, for sharp pops as sidewalls gave way. Then the frame buckled, metal screaming in protest. Glass exploded outward in controlled cascades, safety shards glittering in the morning sun like cheap diamonds. The crowd gasped as one. Someone started filming vertically, someone else switched to landscape. At 4 seconds, the roof began to fold, accordion style. At 6 seconds, the engine block compressed, oil and coolant squirting in thin streams that the containment trays caught without spilling a drop. At 8 seconds, the doors peeled inward like tin cans. At 10 seconds, the entire vehicle was a shrinking rectangle of tortured steel. 12 seconds after activation, the ram stopped. Silence fell, broken only by the soft hiss of cooling metal. Where a 4,000-pound SUV had sat moments earlier now rested a perfect 4-foot cube, edges sharp, surfaces mirror flat. A single drop of transmission fluid beaded on one corner, trembled, then fell. The applause started with one person, Mrs. Larson, 82, oxygen tank on a rolling cart, then spread like wildfire. 500 voices rose in a rolling wave. Phones captured every angle. Victor stood frozen, mouth open. Diane's hands flew to her face as if the cube had struck her personally. Agent Ramirez approached the sculpture, ran a gloved finger along a flawless edge. Impressive tolerances, Mr. Brooks. Boeing specification, I replied. Plus or minus .05. Diane found her voice. This is vandalism. This is terrorism. This is physics, Ramirez said. And physics is colorblind to your development plans. Victor turned to the nearest camera, eyes wild. I just needed the overtime. My kid's braces. Your employer committed fraud on protected land, Ramirez cut in. Save it for the judge. The marshals moved in. Cuffs clicked. Diane's knees buckled. Ramirez caught her elbow. The news anchors went live, voices breathless. In an unprecedented display of property rights enforcement. I walked back to the porch. The gate stood open, the drive clear for the first time in 18 days. Nathan arrived from Austin, suit rumpled from an all-night drive. Grandpa, he said, staring at the cube, that is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. It is just a boundary, I said. Boundaries matter. 6 months later, the cube sits in the county museum under glass, brass plaque reading, Property Rights Enforcement, 2025. Diane serves 18 years for conspiracy and grave desecration. Victor got 8, reduced for cooperation. His daughter's braces are paid by the victim fund. The Comanche burial grounds are federally protected in perpetuity. My great-grandfather's oaks still stand, roots entwined with ancestors who were here first. Nathan upgraded the press with wireless controls. We test it monthly on Scrap. The gate stays open. No one parks across it anymore. Ever faced a bully who mistook patience for weakness? Ever watched justice compress 18 days of harassment into 12 seconds of physics? Tell your story below. Where do you stand when intimidation parks on your line? Measured force or endless talk? Speak up.